Hi everybody, Beanmeister22 here. Hey, some of you know where I've been for the last 2 weeks, so I've been traveling. I didn't make it to Hawaii. I gotta get back there. I got a bunch more filming to do, but I did get to both the East Coast and the West Coast of the U.S., as well as a few places in between. I racked up the frequent flyer miles, which is funny because I never use those. I always donate those to charity come Christmas time. So anyways, during my 2-week sabbatical of shame, I actually did something productive. Well, you may not think it's productive, and most people in the world may not think it's productive, but I got a couple more autographs for my autograph collection. Yes, on occasions I can be a fanboy and collect autographs. Autographs I already have are from authors, and it's authors I like, science fiction authors, so I don't just collect a book that has somebody's autograph. It has to be an author I like and an author I read, and it has to be a book I've already read. That's kind of the stipulations I personally have while collecting autographs. Anyways, I decided I wanted to start collecting some autographs of some of, my favorite TV shows. So I said, American Horror Story, one of my favorite shows. I mean, aside from Game of Thrones, but that's going to take forever for that to come out, right? So I happened to be at the right place at the right time, and I got the first of my American Horror Story autographs. I got Sarah Paulson's autograph. And then, much bigger, way, way, way bigger than that, because, a lot of people don't even know who she is. If you've seen American Horror Story, of course you do. I got Lady Gaga's autograph. What I didn't have was, I didn't have one of the photos or prints from when Lady Gaga was on American Horror Story, when she was the Countess. And that was in Hotel. She was also in Roanoke, but I didn't have that one either, because that would have been pretty cool. But I do now have 3 different Lady Gaga autographs. Well, I mean, it's just one autograph, but it's on 3 different pictures. And yes, it's real. It's not me sitting down with a crayon or a Sharpie and scribbling on something. How this really works is, one of the best ways to tell if an autograph is real or not is if you can read it. Because when these people sign autographs, they're just signing so many, they're just whipping them out. Okay, this squiggle and a scribble, okay, yeah, that's you. Yeah, that's where I've been the last couple weeks. And like I said, racking up those frequent flyer miles. As I mentioned in a previous video, my cat Kiki recently died. Her cancer had just gotten to the point where it was so bad, I had to take her in and put her down. If you remember, I think it was last year, it might have even been more than a year ago, she started having seizures. I made a video about the seizures. I mean, it was the scariest thing you'd ever seen. It was horrible. And the sound she made, it sounded like the devil talking to the cat. So at the end of this video, I'll put a clip of that. I'll add a clip of that to this video in case you don't remember it, or in case you didn't see it, or in case you can care. So how it all started was, I was scheduled to do a photo shoot down at my studio. I think it was a Saturday afternoon. And at the last minute, the model canceled and said, "Oh, I can't do it." Everybody's a prima donna, "Oh, I'm a star. I can't make it." I said, "Oh, man." Well, that turned out to be a good thing. Not just a good thing, a very good thing. Most of you guys know, if you've been over to my house, about 1/3 of the living room used to be just across that whole wall. It was these big cat trees and things to climb on. I just don't like buying one. So I bought 4 of these giant floor-to-ceiling cat trees. So if you guys remember, about 2 months prior to this day I'm talking about right now, my cat Beans had a stroke. We didn't think she was going to make it, but I'll tell you, she was a trooper. She would crawl across the floor. She couldn't hardly, she'd fall over. She got up to get into that litter box. She wasn't eating much, so that was a big concern, but we got her through it. The deal I have with my cats is this: as long as you can keep being a cat, it'll be okay. But when you can no longer be a cat, then, maybe it's time to, lay down and die. We had to go through this several years ago with Chucky, the 3-legged cat we had. Just got to the point he couldn't be a cat anymore. And all the cats are just getting older. The good thing is, if you keep your cats indoors and you take them to the vet and they get their shots, cats can live a long time. So as I said, all the cats are kind of getting up in age. So I've been watching them a little closely, and I don't want to be a hypochondriac. Quick, get in the vet. What's going on? And then I've told you before, the way to get my cats into the vet, it's hard to get an appointment sometimes, and I work weird schedules, and I'm the only one who can bring them in. The cats, don't trust anybody else around here. They're my cats. So what I do is in the morning, I'll cram them in a box, and I'll zoom down to the vet before it even opens, and I'll wait there in the parking lot, and I will just kind of jump the line. And they have seen my cats over the years, so they know who I am, and they know who my cats are. They know them by name. So yeah, if there's something wrong, there's enough wiggle room in their schedule, they will get me in. So as I said, I've been watching the cats very closely. So I was working at my computer doing a little editing, and then I start hearing some thumping sound. It was the cat tree started thumping. Well, and really quick, after Beans had the stroke, she was doing a lot better now. She could walk, her head was cocked to one side, she could run. She would stumble a little bit, but she was doing good. Now it's like nothing ever happened. It's an amazing recovery. But when she had that stroke and she couldn't balance, I took the cat trees and bam, I cut them off at the halfway level. So instead of going up 7 or 8 feet to the ceiling, they only went up about 4.5 to 5 feet high. I figured, that fall wouldn't be too bad. So I jump up from my chair, I hear that sound of the cat tree thumping against the wall, and I look, and it's not Beans, it's Kiki. She's up on this cat tree having a seizure. And I went and I grabbed her and I got her down and I held her down there on the couch. And then the seizure was done. I said, man, I've never seen this before. I've seen people have seizures. I had a friend who was an epileptic, but man, a cat, oh man. So I watched her closely all that day, and then there wasn't a problem. And then it was getting late in the evening, and I'm thinking, you know what? This was a Sunday. It was on Saturday. Yeah, it was a Sunday. And it's late in the evening. I'm thinking, God, I didn't imagine that. Maybe that's just one of those one-up things, And then she had another seizure that night. Okay, it's not a one-up. I got to get into the vet. Got up that morning before the vet opened, crammed her in a box, got down there. She was okay. Had no evidence of seizures. I'm waiting in the waiting room. And she had 2 more small seizures just sitting in the crate waiting to go in. She didn't have any seizures in there that the vet could see, and, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this. We put her on some medication, and we're going to have to see how it goes. Well, before the medication kicks in, it takes a while for that phenobarbital to start working. For the next 2.5, almost 3 days until the medicine kicked in, and you'll remember this from my other video, until it kicked in, she had seizures every hour on the hour. From the run-up to the seizure, where she starts acting weird and knows something is wrong and starts, acting strangely, till she has the seizure, until she recovers, that total time was about 15 minutes. So she only had 45 minutes every hour where she was not having a medical problem. And as she slept next to me, every hour I woke up and held her through that seizure. One I missed, because, you figure I'm not sleeping more than half an hour at a shot. Okay, you got to get up. One I missed, she had made it into the kitchen. She was against the refrigerator, and I got her during that seizure, and then it was okay. But yeah, so for 2.5, 3 days, I had no sleep. And she wasn't doing all that well either. Medicine kicked in, bam, never had a problem, never had another seizure again. It was amazing. The modern medicine and pharmaceuticals, people can be mad at these companies, but the things it will do to save you, it's amazing, night and day. If you're a cat, or if you're a person and you're having seizures every hour and you can't go 45 minutes before you're going into that medical thing, what kind of life is that? For an animal, it's a death sentence. So though she wasn't having any seizures, every couple months I had to bring her into the vet and we had to test her phenobarb levels for 2 reasons. One, it's a barbiturate, and they want to make sure I'm not drinking it. I'm giving it to the cat instead. And number 2, we got to make sure the levels are good. The vet said something very interesting is the dosage the cat was getting, the dosage Kiki was getting was so low, it really should not have been working. I had considered maybe taking her off the phenobarb simply because maybe it was just a one-off thing during that time, and that's a seizure. We don't know why the seizure happened. They can happen for a lot of reasons. It could be a tumor pressing on the brain. It could be, I got Peanut the cat choking here in the background, so I'm trying to make a video. So it could be a lot of things, or it could actually be real epilepsy. But older cats can have seizures. I didn't know that. I looked it up, and wow, it's super common. I'd never heard of that. I guess why should I? When I was growing up, I had a dog. I never had a cat till I was an adult. So anywho's, things were going well for quite a while, but she started losing some weight. And she went down 3 pounds from 13-ish pounds down to, 11, and then she went down to 9, and then in the end she was only 7 pounds. So we did the blood work, and there wasn't an infection, there wasn't this, there wasn't that. This came back good, and when you rule out everything else, then that's when it's the big C word. She had cancer. She had a tumor. This tumor was on her brain or on her spinal cord or something. It was up there in her head, and she was just wasting away. Like I said, at the end, she was only 7 pounds. You can see that in this video. And she'd always had a little pot belly on her, like a pot-belly pig. She'd always been a little piglet. But even with a cancer diagnosis, things were still okay. And then she started almost not eating. She'd eat a little bit, and she would have bad diarrhea. It would a point, she couldn't even make it to the litter box sometimes. It would just, oh, it's gross. So I went down to the feed store, and I bought one of those big caged puppy kennels. This thing's like 4 feet long and 3 feet high and almost 3 feet wide. It's huge. Put a litter box in it, put food, put a little cat tree thing and a little bed in there. And when I'm not home, or if I have to go out, if I going to work, I have to go out, she had to be locked in there. I can't have her pooping all over the house. And if something did happen, she would be in there and not around the house or crawled under the bed and croaked or something. So we had her there. And that lasted about 2 weeks, and then it just got to the point where, no, she was bad. She walked around here, she was crying, something was wrong. I decided, then she peed on the bed, which was the very last thing Chucky did before we had to put him down. It's not like, when you pee on the bed, that's it, we're putting you down. But she didn't have control over anything at this point. She was wasting away, and she wasn't eating, and I couldn't even give her the phenobarb because she still had to have that seizure medicine. It wasn't working. She was gone. So I had to bring her down into the vet, and we put her down. I had always said, and I even told the vet, I said, look, she hates going to the vet, so when it comes to that, if we have to put her down, I'm going to dope her up with a whole bunch of this phenobarb, and she's going to be zonked out so she won't be afraid and freaked out when she's here. I didn't have to do that because she already wasn't feeling really well. I could take her out of the cage. We're in the vet's office, and I held her, and she got poop on my jacket, and I was able to hold her there in the waiting room until we brought her in. And I wanted to get a picture or a real quick video of her before she croaked, and I had my little mini cam thing, and it just didn't work out. It's not like you want to, be filming it. Here I am putting my cat down. There's a lot of videos here on YouTube. It's that sort of thing, and you say, why the hell would somebody do that? Well, they do it because it's their last memory of their cat alive. But still, it's, pretty, If you've ever put an animal down, there's a couple ways to do it. You can inject it. They inject it into, the bloodstream, which is hard to find a vein, and it takes a little bit of time for your animal, just lays down its head and goes to sleep. Yeah, but it takes a little bit of time. The other way to do it is to actually inject it directly into the animal's liver, and it's less than 5-6 seconds. Cat stood up, kind of looked around, laid her head down, bam, she was gone. That quick. And that's about the time you're saying, okay, I changed my mind, quick, reverse it, revive the cat. Yeah, it's over, right? Nothing you knew. So, Kiki was about 17 years old. She had a good run. I had got her from the animal shelter I used to volunteer at. She was in the shelter. She got adopted out. So if you haven't heard the story of how we got her, I was volunteering at an animal shelter, and I wanted to get a second cat to help keep Peanut company when I was gone. She was there in the cattery. She's a good-looking cat, and then, she was one of those cats that like to be, you give her a little rubber scratch under the chin or on the cheek, and then, she'll love you forever. So when I'd go in there, and she'd see me, even if she was climbing under a blanket, when I got in there, because, they would sleep under a blanket, she would come running down to be petted. And after a couple days, I say, I should bring her home. And I thought she was a Russian blue because the males in those species can get really big. She was actually a British blue or a British short hair. And the males get big in that too. Remember the movie Pet Sematary, the male cat in that? Well, she's a female and they're actually smaller. Because, Peanut was huge. He's 25 pounds, so I wanted a cat that could hold her own against him. As it turned out, she had no problem holding her own against Peanut. Regardless of her size. She was in charge. He did something wrong. she'd smack him. I first brought her home. You know, you bring her into the bedroom, Peanut's sitting on the bed. She walked up to Peanut, licked him on top of the head, and then he swatted at her, and then they were not friends since then. And then if he got out of line, she'd smack him. When he would attack Chucky, the old three-legged cat, she would jump on him and scream at him and swat him. So anyways, she had been in the shelter twice. She was adopted from the shelter. She went down to the housing development near the shelter. They had her for 6 months. They moved out and abandoned her. She was found on their front porch, pregnant. She went back to the shelter, she had her litter of kittens, and then she was up for adoption. So she was at least 17 years old. Could have been older. But and she looked really good until she just went downhill. She just grew old overnight after she started having those seizures. Well, that tumor was just growing in there, messing with her. And what's funny, well, I don't know, funny, kind of funny, strange, not funny, ha-ha, is after Beans, when she had that stroke, they were thinking she had a brain tumor, that it was pushing in. She had a middle ear infection, and she'd think a tumor was inside pushing out. And she's doing fine, but we already know these things happen overnight, and they go downhill quick. So she didn't end up having the tumor, or her tumor's not big enough yet, right? So, but it was Kiki who ended up having the tumor, and it eventually killed her after about 1.5 years or so. And really, it was only the last maybe month and a half that it was really bad, or maybe the last month that it was really bad. Up to then, I mean, she was not eating as much, and she was kind of wasting away, but she was still okay, and she's still coherent. Even in this video, you can see she's still there inside. So, anyways, that's what happened. That's the story. Kiki's gone. I mean, all our pets are gonna croak on us unless we croak on them first. So, I mean, it's gonna happen to everybody. That's one thing we all have in common. When we're done here, we are all gonna be dead. And if you guys remember, since Kiki needed that medicine every 12 hours, not every 24 hours, she had to have that phenobarbital every 12 hours, we really had to cut back on our traveling, and I only took 2 Hawaii trips during that period where she was on the medication, and then we'd have to bring her down to the vet, and she'd have to stay the night at the vet the night before, and then we'd be gone for a couple days, and then we'd have to pick her up the next night. So we would be here in town for 2 nights, but she was still stuck at the vet for those 2 nights. So yeah, she'd be down there 3 to 5 nights. And that's why I originally got cats, because they can take care of themselves. You leave them an extra litter box, food and water, they're fine. I used to get on my motorcycle, I'd take off for 2 weeks. Or I'd get on my motorcycle, I'd take off for 3 or 4 days, turn around and come back. All over the western states. But, with a dog you can't do that. But with a cat that needs medicine, it has to be at the vet, and then you don't travel as much. So Kiki being gone, that's what allowed us to take off for 2 weeks and just travel around the country and rack up, 1,000,000 miles chasing down, I don't want to say chasing down celebrities, because I had other things I had to do too, but yeah. So that's why we were able to do that. Where a year ago, this time last year, we just couldn't do it because of Kiki's medical condition. 2 or 3 days at the vet while we go to Hawaii, well, yeah, it's okay, she didn't like it, but that isn't going to kill her. 2 weeks at the vet, she's going to feel she's abandoned, she probably would just croak because she misses me so much. Yeah. Alright, so leave your comments in the comment section. Hey, as always, thanks for watching. Just rest, kid. Lay down, Kiki. Lay down, Kiki. Be good. Are you coming better, Kiki? Are you better? Yeah, you guys want to go inside?
Beanmeister 22, the most dangerous man on YouTube.